You can't really talk about Kodiak without talking about the bears. So you've got a little electric fence around this thing.
Mm-hmm.
And does that thing work? It looks so insubstantial.
It really doesn't. I mean, it's just for looks, you know. But I would advise you to go out there and pee on it or something and try it.
It's there to make the clients feel better.
Right,
I've got
exactly.
Right.
But it's only around his tent. It's not around our tent.
We don't have them around our tent.
You guys need to go home and have these stories to live dangerously and, like, tell your wives and girlfriends and whatever you have there and families of, like, how much you roughed it, and it sounds so good for, like, all your listeners of, like, yeah, we didn't even have a fence around our tent, you know. And, but, like, I'm a professional. I need to come back out here all the time. So I need security.
You need
and safety.
time. Yeah, you need to stay alive.
I don't know if we even saw a red fox. Did you see a red fox? Okay. Anyways, but we saw several. Like, I'll tell you, we hardly ever see silvers, then we see all silvers. So, it's like women hair dye fads. You know, some years they're just all silvers.
It's all silver. Platinum blondes.
It's just,
redheads.
It really, you just never know what sort of phase they're going to be in.
And did you think like the red was native to the island?
Gosh dang, you're not supposed to ask these questions. I told you I had a brain fart the other day, and here you are asking me about this. Gosh dang.
And I'm not going to edit it out.
What a jerk. Anyways.
All right, folks, welcome to the Gritty Podcast. We are in beautiful Kodiak, Alaska, and we are in a humble abode owned by Cole Kramer, who's also our fearless guide and black-tailed deer, Sitka black-tailed deer mentor.
A mentor?
A mentor.
Just a guide.
Just a guide.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like my guide should have vast amounts of wisdom and guidance also.
Oh, I do. I mean, I just typically, though, like to be in an audience of just what's in the tent. Because if it goes on the airwaves and people start writing back saying he doesn't actually really know what he's talking about, that is not true. But, so.
Yeah. I understand where you're coming from. We're going to expose you to the world on this show today.
Don't ask anything too deep.
So, are the caribou on this island native to the island?
Is this multiple questions?
That's A. Or B, they were introduced.
Can I have a lifeline?
Yes, you can ask Michael or...
No, the caribou were introduced here, yes. Along with the blacktail and a few other things here.
But the brown bear have been here for ages, eons.
Many of years.
Many moons.
Yes.
Okay, and we are, my other guest is Tim Lesser from Leupold Optics. And Tim, you happy to be here?
Yeah, this is amazing. We're through day one now. It's a beautiful place. The weather was about what you'd expect from Alaska, but this is amazing. Having the time of my life.
And then we've got Michael Wunnicke. Watatinaki.
You're so good. You got it right the first time. I can't believe it.
Which part of Japan are you from?
I'm not. You just butchered it.
Sorry.
Come on, man.
Even
if I told you, you probably wouldn't get it right.
I'd forget it, too.
That's okay.
But what is it?
Wunnicke.
Yeah. Wunnicke.
Yeah.
No, I'll get it now.
Yeah.
For a day or two.
Oh, from Wisconsin. Yeah.
There you go.
The Wisconsin Wunnickes.
The way you pronounce it, I thought Japan, but.
Yeah. Okay. No.
And what's your role at Leupold?
Director of
marketing.
Yep.
Right. And so, is this your first time? It's your first time to Kodiak. It's all three of us, right?
Yeah, it's my first time to Kodiak. Yeah, I've been to Alaska one time, but that was years ago for fishing. Not as fun as this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes. So today was our first day hunting, right?
First full day.
First full day hunting. Yeah, we came in yesterday, by airplane and hunted our way in a little bit just before dark.
Yeah, we had a nice couple-hour hike in, but it's kind of couldn't spend as much time as you'd like to out hunting. Kind of need to get to camp, but today was the first full day.
It would have been a 20-minute hike, but Brian kept saying, "There's a buck, there's a buck, there's a buck," which is right because there were.
There's some truth to that, but there were bucks. Yeah,
there were.
Yes, there were.
The hunt, we've been cooped up for a couple of days.
Yeah.
in Kodiak, so it was nice to get out and see some stuff. Today was a little windy, but we did see a buck that was pretty tempting. So that's one thing I want to talk to you about, Cole. Here in
excuse the tent shaking.
Yeah,
and whatnot.
it's just a mild wind here. This tent, by the way, it's a Cabela's.
It is a Carbella's, yes, correct.
And what's your official opinion of this tent?
It has not collapsed yet. That's very, very good.
It's roomy.
It's very roomy. I would like to talk to some of the engineers at Cabela's. If you could write me or Brian,
yeah,
I would like to have some input into these. I think I could help. That's all I'll say.
All right. And then we're sleeping in some.
We're sleeping in some bomb shelters.
Bomb shelters
from
made by
Sports Chalet.
Do they don't make those anymore? You were lamenting about that earlier.
Yeah. Well, I think they are just, a little bit of a hold, but hopefully they'll get them back in production. So.
And Cousin Will had to deal with one of them being attacked by a buck.
Yeah.
Correct?
Yeah. These bucks, they start rutting around and they start testing things and materials, and they start coming into your camps. You don't really have to worry about the bears, these big brown furry creatures here. It's the bucks. Bucks and rut are pretty dangerous, so you gotta be careful.
They are still rutting. And it is November 27th today.
Wow.
So what do you expect the rut to do right now?
Well, we're here. I've been out the past few weeks, for bear season, then another deer hunt, and last week, you should have been here last week. Oh, man. Anyways.
The old guideline.
Now we know he really is a guy.
Yeah.
No, but last week they had totally ramped up. It was pretty crazy, but there was still, they were chasing does. We saw 2 or 3 deer mounting does. Right off the bat, as soon as we got out of the plane, there was a buck, walked up on a doe.
I saw the twinkle in your eye.
And mounted a doe. Right,
Tim and I talked about that today. I would like to see that happen myself.
Yeah. So that happened last week, but there was still a lot of does completely by themselves, not being harassed whatsoever. And so those does, you're hoping are coming into heat on this hunt. And today we still saw does completely by themselves, and but then you would see the ones that are bucks sprinting across the tundra chasing them. So
I would like to see 2 things besides a giant buck, a booner, type buck. I would like to see a buck mount a doe. While we're here, it's not too much to ask.
Who doesn't want to see that?
And then I'd like to see 2 bucks fight to the death.
Whoa.
Just those are 2 cool things that would be great.
That's pretty harsh. I kind of like. I'm really
fight to the near death.
Bucks, so. Okay, that's better.
Near death.
Thank you.
But we have seen quite a few that are limping around.
Oh yeah. Actually, this year has been pretty interesting. I've seen a lot of bucks that have been really gimpy. Like they're favoring one side or the other. And a few years ago, we had a winter die off, and we're recovering. It's getting better, but we still have a year or 2 to go. But to where it's back to amazing. But I think when you get these younger class bucks that are just going at it, they don't know any better, and they're just fighting hardcore. There's no respect for each other, and so they're fighting so hard. And that the past couple years, I have not seen this type of brutality to each other. We were coming back, packing a bear back in the middle of the night. And I wouldn't say middle of the night, just a few hours into the dark. And as we're coming along, I see these deer eyes in front of us, and we kind of stopped, and it was 2 bucks, and they just looked at each other and just crack right in front of us, and they just went out and locked up. Yep, locked up, and we watched them from 35, 40 yards, and it was really cool. But it was the hardest fighting I had ever seen from blacktails, from Sitka blacktails here on Kodiak. I mean, it was a full blown fight, and they just kept going at it. So like, it's pretty. I'm not saying that they don't do that every year, but you kind of see like these older, mature bucks and these younger bucks come in, and these older, mature bucks, it's like when you see a big dude out, you don't really want to test him. But when you got these other younger dudes out, they're all wanting to test each other. So it's like, that's what you're seeing right now, is all these younger type of deer testing each other. And it's pretty evident when you do see a pretty mature buck in the group, they respect them.
Yeah, I think it's like anytime you have 2 equally yoked opponents, like equally skilled opponents, you're going to have a much more lethal fight than if one's clearly dominates the other. Right. It ends pretty quickly. So let's talk about Sitka blacktail, because we're on Kodiak Island, and I have hunted them on Prince of Wales, and they're introduced on both islands.
Correct.
They weren't native. At least they weren't there. I don't know. They may have been there thousands of years ago. I don't know, but they're introduced in recent times. And the thing about the blacktail deer is that, from what I understand, when I researched going to POW, Prince of Wales, to hunt them, I had read that you should look at the timing of the last, like, harsh winter, because the deer grow in cycles, because you'll have a huge population crash. Because when I went, you could kill 4 bucks with your tag. You get 4 tags. So you could go to Prince of Wales and get, 4 bucks, and that was pretty cool, because growing up in Oregon, I think it was 2007 or something.
Yeah.
8, I can't remember.
And I don't know what they are down there now.
I think you can
multiple bucks.
Shoot 3.
Is it only 3?
I think it's only 3 if you're a non-resident.
Yeah.
So
here on Kodiak, it's $3, but I only have guys get 2 tags typically for when they come hunting with me. There's no, we don't really.
What's the point?
Don't really feel like,
Well, and I think when what I heard back then was that they would have a harsh winter in Prince of Wales Island, and you'd lose like 80% of the population.
Right.
And so, because I was like, man, 4 tags? That means, I mean, you would think the hunters would wipe them out, and they were saying that the population really isn't impacted by heavy harvest numbers.
Correct.
It's really impacted by weather. That's where it crushes them.
Well, and I was speaking with a gentleman the other day about, because some of my hunters are saying, well, what was the most deer that's ever been on this island? I said, man, I don't know. I could butcher it, but, it could have been 60, 70,000 deer at one point. But like the other day, we were flying home, and I was with one of the pilots who's been around here forever. And back in the 80s, I believe, was like the heyday in Kodiak. And he was suspecting, and okay, it could be a little off, but he said, oh no, it was more closer to 100,000, but we don't even really know. But he also said, so there was a really bad winter after a couple of these just crazy hated, but there was like 10, 12, however many years in a row of all this. But like he said, or that they went to some meetings with Fish and Game, and I'm trying to remember how this all went, but one of the refuge guys stood up and said, well, and mind you, this was a meeting after a bunch of them had died off, and they were trying to decipher what they should do. And he said, well, you'll never see a population ever grow back to this again. And they all said, well, you're foolish, whatever, because we've seen this island have this. They will grow back. It will come back to that. What a fool kind of thing. But to this day, he said, but that guy was right. He said that guy was totally right, because he talked about the winter range. They've overforaged the winter range, and the winter range will never grow back. That can sustain, even on harsh winters, they were still healthy. Well, once you get rid of that whole winter range and that winter feed,
and keep it down,
and there's no more of that, like our elderberries less than what it has been in, a bunch of years, whatever. And, there's this multiple types of vegetation that just aren't as
robust.
As the years past.
Mm-hmm.
So, but so I think that's where we are. Like you see cycles of like vegetation on our island and whatnot, and like so we'll see like some like bumper crop years of like, oh my gosh, this is amazing deer hunting, but it's nothing even remotely close to what it was back in the 70s, 80s, or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
It was like rats. It was annoying. Like the stories you hear of guys saying, "Oh, you see a buck across the valley," but you don't even really get to him because you run into multiple other bucks on the way there.
Yeah.
And whatever. It's just you're just.
Well,
coming
we've
upon big
seen.
deer.
Tim, how many deer? Between yesterday and today.
Man, I don't know, but we've got to be into 30 or 40. I don't know. What are you thinking?
Bucks, you mean?
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Deer.
Just bucks.
Gosh,
More than that for
in a
deer.
day like today.
Well, you're
40 today.
Yeah, we're seeing a lot of young, tons of young bucks. They're cruising around, and it was windy, right?
Yeah.
And that's why I was telling you it's annoying to me because I
They're
know
still
what's
rutting,
here.
though. We saw them chasing and
Sure. But when this wind lays down, they're all going to start standing up,
Yeah.
and you're going to see them pop out and looking around, and that's pretty a spectacular sight when you see that.
I not having hunted them much. And when I went to Prince of Wales, I was just happy to shoot a deer with my bow and spot and stock and stuff. And I shot, I think they were all forked horn bucks, various sizes.
I hear there's another guy here who really likes forked horn bucks too.
Yeah. Tim Lesser has a thing for that.
I see where you're headed with this, gentleman. It's a rare forked horn.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, Tim
rare
wants to
forked
shoot
horn.
100-inch
like
forked horn.
Yeah, well, it could exist.
Probably not.
Yeah, probably not.
Yeah. But over there on Prince of Wales, that's about what I shot. Here, I'm seeing a lot bigger bucks than I saw there, and more of them. But still, it's really tough to judge a deer of like that's that small and not having seen a lot of them, because you looked at one today that looked really, really nice, and you could tell he was mature because his neck and shoulders and the weight on him. Just you can tell a mature deer's body. And I think how old do you think that deer was? 4, maybe.
Yeah, he could have been 4. He, like I said, he was a really pretty buck. He had a nice width to him, some mass, but just not a lot of time length. His threes were just a little short. You were
beautiful thinking
buck.
Low 90s.
Yeah,
score.
maybe. Yeah, low to mid 90s. Could have been 110. I'm not sure. Now that I think of it, he was a huge buck.
Definitely.
The thing is, though, is it's tricky when you're looking at them, and they all look cool to me, so I kind of am ready to shoot them all. But
and it was funny when he started to go away chasing that doe. We were all like, oh, maybe.
Yeah. Now that he's not right there for the shooting, you're like, maybe he is big enough.
So these bucks, it's like with any deer, but so from the side, their horn, it's like an oblong shape, right? And from the side, they lay over, and so you see only so much from the side. They don't look that, but then all of a sudden you see him going another angle, and that's how I was when he was going away, and he had like a swope beam to him, and it looks like, ooh, that's even impressive. It's like rams, how like the shape of the horns will turn, and from the front they look like okay, then you see it's like, oh wow, it's a
good ram,
or whatever. But regardless, they have different shaped horns or whatnot, but I do, like I tell guys, listen, when you see a good blacktail, you'll know. Because like a lot of times guys will be like, "Oh, is that a good one? That must be a good one, right?" But they're just guessing. They're like, is that a good one? He's got some tines. Right. He has 3 points or this, that, and the other. But when you see a good buck, even guys that have no clue, they're like, "Whoa, that's a big deer, right?" because he's over ear width or right at ear width or really tall. Just like any decent whitetail or any good mule deer, when you see a good one, it's like, it's pretty no-brainer.
Yeah.
Right? But they are, because most people don't know the body size of these and how just, they are a more unique body size, deer. They're shorter frame, stout, shorter muzzles, Roman nose, the colors on them are beautiful. And so it's just, it's a different looking.
That white face stands out on those older deer.
Yeah. The older they get, they tend to have a little more white to them, like there's several times like when you'll be glassing these bucks and you'll just see this old face looking at you and you're just like, whoa, but the rack's in the brush, and you can't quite see, but you can go off of their face on some of it, knowing that it's a mature deer and he should have something that should represent that. But
how old do the oldest deer get, in your opinion? I mean, you'd be guessing, but I mean...
Yeah, but I mean, that's all. I think the oldest buck I've taken ever was about a 7-year-old deer. Maybe.
That's
but,
pretty old
that's,
for Kodiak.
But the thing is, though,
right?
back in the 80s or those years where
mild
there was
winters,
like people talk about, like, oh my gosh, I get it. You've got climate change and all sorts of stuff. But back in the 70s or 80s or whenever it was, there was several mild winters in these deer were going through. But then also there was more winter range.
They just got to live older because the conditions weren't as harsh.
Were right. Yep.
Nowadays, though, we're not experiencing those same conditions. A deer, I mean, he's got to be pretty resilient to rut like they do, and then I think pull off. Well, that kind of.
You get a harsh climate like this, and that's why I'm excited about this year, because so far today this is the snow that I have seen here. So far.
Okay.
Last night we got a really cold rain down low, and you got cold, got slushy, and the snow stuck up on the mountains, a little bit down low. But this is the snow that we've seen so far, and it's November whatever, right? 26th, 7th, something like that. And in some years, like this place is caked with snow by now, and they're rutting in a very harsh condition. This is like easy condition right now for rut. Mm-hmm. And so once they rut, then you go into December, and it's just rough as crap on them, and snow and ice and wind, and they have no time to recover after the rut. They're out there trying to feed, and it's just harsh on that. That's what happened in 2016. It was so cold and snowy, and it never thawed out till April. Where we are, everything froze up. It was extremely harsh. Lots of bucks died. And, the old deer, the deer that were the powerful, dominant deer that protected their lady, a lot of those bucks died.
Yeah.
They were worn down, and those bucks that just knew their place and stayed off to the side and didn't rut as hard or didn't try as hard, they made it,
Hey, Michael, today you got to see a brown bear.
Yeah.
Which I'm jealous of.
Yeah, it was great. I had just said, we were up there looking. We sat down out of the wind to try to find a spot, and we were having some lunch. And I said, boy, it'd really be cool to see a brown bear, because I hadn't seen one before. And all of a sudden we're glassing up on this hillside, and I was like, oh my gosh, there's a bear. And Will's like, where? And I'm like, oh, thankfully it's way up there, and it's going the other direction. But it was pretty cool. So yeah, we got the spotter on it, and we sat there and watched it for a while through the spotter, and it's pretty interesting to watch, man. They're big.
Yeah, Cole was talking to us today. I think it was today, and he turned around and he's like, okay, look, if you see a bear, say bear on the right or bear on the left. Don't just say bear.
Yeah.
Bear. Because it's a serious deal.
Yeah.
You can't really talk about Kodiak without talking about the bears.
Yeah, no, it's there's all sorts of good, bad, and different stories about bears and guys coming here deer hunting, and whether you even see a deer whether you see a bear while you're here deer hunting or whatever you're doing here, that's always what's on your mind, right? A lot of people have.
Every time you have to go outside and pee in the dark by yourself in the middle of the night, this crosses your mind a little bit.
Yep.
Whoa. So you've got a little electric fence around this thing.
Mm-hmm.
And does that thing work? It looks so insubstantial.
It really doesn't. I mean, it just for looks, you know. But I would advise you to go out there and pee on it or something and try it.
It's there to make the clients feel better.
Right.
I've got
exactly.
Right.
But it's only around his tent. It's not around our tent.
We don't have them around our tent.
You guys need to go home and have these stories to live dangerously and, like, tell your wives and girlfriends and whatever you have there and families of, like, how much you roughed it, and it sounds so good for, like, all your listeners of, like, yeah, we didn't even have a fence around our tent, you know. And, but, like, I'm a professional. I need to come back out here all the time. So I need security.
You need
and safety.
time. Yeah, you need to stay alive. We're trying to keep the tent from burning down here. Cousin Will is not paying attention.
He's fruit ninjaing.
Yeah.
Candy crushing or something.
Old Candy Crush part 2.
We got a lantern hanging from the ceiling there.
The paper towels keep trying to dive bomb onto the lantern. And
it's a stellar setup you got here.
Yeah. You know, we've got it's just nice to, we have a cook tent and, some food around here and there. And it's not exactly a whole lot of trees to hang
your food
and all that
but
sort
it runs
of
on
stuff.
2 AA's, you said.
Yeah.
And it really works.
Well, yeah, and it actually shocks me quite a bit more than, like, the ones I was using 2 or 4 D-cell battery.
Really?
Yeah. So, I don't know. It maybe doesn't work that great, but so far, so good. It sure didn't keep the buck out, I can tell you that much last week, though.
So tell us about that.
I don't know. He's just being a moron. These deer, it's like they're getting knocked around and they decide they just see different things and it's something different in their environment that's not supposed to be there. And they just want to come over and
flex on it.
Yeah. And so they got into the tent and decided to, so we've got Cousin Will decided to come in here with a little bit of thread and needle and sewed up what looks like a pretty awesome rip mark through the tent right above the client's head. So, like, whenever people will lay their heads there at night in the tent anymore, they'll be able to
see
look
where the bear ripped through.
Yeah, well, yeah, no, I'll say a bear came through there, but it really was a buck. So, buck came in to mount the guy, and the guy wasn't willing,
So, how dangerous are the bears? In Kodiak, what kind of threat are we talking about?
Personally, I think we have pretty well behaved bears.
Yeah,
I'd take these bears over those non-hunted bears down in the
lower 48.
Yeah. Our bears, I think the bears and people here have a pretty healthy respect for each other. And does it happen where attacks happen? Yeah, it does. But most of those are like, it's close. You surprise each other and they're just trying to survive. You're trying to survive and, happens. I mean, it's not like they're seeking you out to come bite you.
Yeah.
It just things happen, so for the most part, our bears, they know people here. They smell people. Their noses are so, keen on, our what we smell like to where, or we're such a foreign smell to them, I think, that when they do smell us, they just want nothing to do with us. But when you are right in their realm, their personal space, they're just trying to survive.
Or flight.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're just trying to survive, and you could be a dangerous bear to them, especially a sow with a cub or something, So she's trying to protect her cubs,
So, Tim, we've been here, this is our first full day of hunting.
Yep.
And we think the weather's going to clear up a little tomorrow. Do you know, Cole?
I think tomorrow's supposed to be a little better. Yeah, less wind and pretty nice day, all in all. Only like 80% chance of rain.
Isn't that like the
no,
always
I think it's
forecasting?
supposed to have like 10%, but it still could shower quite a bit.
That's awesome. It does sort of remind me of like back there in Kodiak, the Northwest,
Oh, you're back in Oregon.
Yeah. Out here, not so much. Out here, it's so open and you can see, long distances. It's pretty wild. What's your, what would you like to, you brought a smaller caliber gun on this trip.
Smaller than what he's used to, or smaller in general?
The one I'm hunting deer with, or the one that I brought up here?
Yeah, you brought 2 guns.
I did.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
For what purpose, Tim?
Well, one is for deer.
Uh-huh.
Yep. And I think most people are aware
You brought
of
a
that.
small 300.
I did. Yep.
Yeah.
A small 300 Win Mag. That's I think it's great caliber for deer.
Of which Tim wanted to bring his 375. Ackley?
Yes, sir.
He's like, it's one of my favorite calibers. I was like, well, it's really not necessary. These deer will die with a smaller caliber, but
they will.
Yeah.
Tim likes guns.
I shoot that rifle a lot.
Yeah.
And I have for 15 years. Actually, longer than that, if I think about it. It's probably more like 25 years I've been shooting that rifle. So I'm on my 3rd barrel with it. And I know how it behaves. So when I point it at something, the bullet goes where I want it to, and I'm comfortable with it. So I was going to bring that. Downside is I also like to preserve a little bit of the hearing that I have.
Yeah.
And if you get a suppressor for a 375, they think it's for a long range, a Shitak or something like that. And so the suppressor's about the same size as a Volkswagen, and that's not real practical in the field.
Yeah.
So you can get a small suppressor for a 300, knocks the edge off it, preserves a little bit of hearing. Also lets you call the shot on the animal if you're hunting by yourself and you happen to come off of it under recoil due to high magnification or weird shot angle. You can, with the reduction in the boom from the rifle, you can hear the difference on where it hits the animal.
Really?
And that's an interesting thing. So that one's kind of become my go-to smaller game rifle. It's short, it's packable, real lightweight. And so I like that one, and that's what I'm carrying around up here.
And then we're hoping we're going to run into, what are they? You got a red fox, silver fox?
Red fox, silver fox, and cross fox.
And cross fox.
Yeah.
I was going to say hybrid. It's cross fox.
You can say whatever you want.
That's the
Sure,
Oregon.
show.
That's the Oregonian part. Yeah.
So,
Hybrid.
and there's quite a few out this way.
Yeah. There should be several. We haven't seen it yet, but.
And did you think like the red was native to the island?
Gosh dang, you're not supposed to ask these questions. I told you I had a brain fart the other day, and here you are asking me about this. Gosh dang.
And I'm not going to edit it out.
What a jerk. Anyways, the cross and silver fox were for sure brought here. And for some reason, I told you I had a brain fart yesterday about the red fox. And I had to take a test on this.
But it is, we do have
They've been here a
license.
very, very long time.
We do have licenses to harvest a fox with our general season tag, correct?
Correct.
We can harvest.
You can harvest 2 fox.
2 fox.
Yep.
That's
like we said, there's a red fox, cross fox, and silver.
Mhm.
The cross fox and the silver fox are probably the most sought after. Silver fox being the most sought after, but the cross and silver are.
And how often do you run into them? How often do you see them?
Oh, we saw several. I mean, we saw. I don't know.
Last week?
Several, 5 or 6 or some silver fox last week and some cross. And I don't know if we even saw a red fox. Did you see a red fox? Okay. Anyways, but we saw several. Like I'll tell you, oh yeah, we hardly ever see silvers, then we see all silvers. So it's like women hair dye fads. Some years they're just all silvers.
It's all silver. Platinum blondes.
It's just
redheads.
It really, you just never know what sort of phase they're going to be in.
I would say that it's really interesting how many times Cole uses a female analogy to explain things about life.
Well, truth be told, I do like females.
You do like the ladies.
There's no qualms about it. That's kind of what I like females.
Yeah. So you
Moving
brought
on.
a 17 HMR.
up here.
He's at a loss for words all of a sudden.
Yeah.
We brought a little small 17. We zeroed it in Oregon, and then we had some fun with it at the range here, too. When we
tack
checked
driver.
the zeros.
Yeah, it is.
The thing shoots really
And why-
well. I don't know how well it would have liked the wind today.
Yeah.
It's not very heavy. And why that gun? Like, for people that are listening, like,
That caliber.
First reason is because Cole asked for it, but I've been around that caliber on fox-sized critters before. And so if you use something like a 22, you're using a heavier bullet, it's slower, it doesn't tend to open up, and so you punch holes through them and they run off, and that's not fair to the animal, and you don't recover. If you go much bigger, you cause massive trauma,
damage,
especially if you hit bones and things. But that 17, getting out to 100 yards, well, you see what it does at 100, just point and click. But you've got higher velocity, smaller bullet, and so when it gets there, it kind of just pops inside of them, and that energy goes into the fox instead of into the dirt on the other side, and
it's more hydrostatic shock. Is that?
Yeah, essentially, right? You get that smaller bullet going in there at a higher speed, and it's exactly that hydraulic pressure
is what really kills them. Yeah,
it pumps things back the way they weren't supposed to go, and it's a lot of trauma all at once, right?
Yeah. In glass hunters, when you're here hauling around your 7 mag or your 300 or whatnot, and you see this beautiful fox, it's kind of a pity to have to shoot him with a large caliber and cause a lot of damage.
Mm-hmm.
So I have a 30-30 Marlin and have some 30-30 accelerators, 55 grain. Saboted bullet, which is great, but it was also my very first deer rifle, and I kind of hate to haul that around. And that 17 is pretty impressive on these foxes from what people have been telling me and whatnot. And so, I'd ask, because we didn't have any here for a lighter, smaller, packable type of gun. And so, Tim found that one there, so which is great. But our fox are quite a bit bigger than what most people will have ever seen. I mean, they're on a salmon diet, okay? And in the fall time, they're eating a ton, and there's ptarmigan and whatever else here. I personally know people have taken
they're big fox
that are in the 40-some pound range,
which brings you back. May need to go back to using the 300 at some point,
right? And so, but there are some coyotes that aren't even that big in some places, right? Mm-hmm. And so they're pretty impressive sized critters here.
Yeah, Michael, you got back tonight and you were talking about how big the tracks were.
Yeah, we saw a lot of tracks, up one of these valleys there, and I was looking at that going, there's no way that's a fox. And I asked Will, I said, what is that? I'm like, I don't know what it is. It's too big. He goes, oh yeah, it's fox, 30 or 40 pounds. I'm like, whoa. It's much bigger than what we shot.
Be sure to run the bolt when you shoot one that size with a 17. Yeah. You may need another round.
That was the thing with that 30-30 accelerator. I never had one move after. It just popped it, never destroyed anything. But, you get too small, they're going to run off. And, they are a little tough. Mm-hmm. They're pretty tough critters, when they're that size. But you just don't want to do a whole ton of damage, Beautiful hide.
So, Michael, what's your goal on this trip?
Just work-related or pleasure?
Just personal. Yeah.
Well, pleasure is just, it's a different species and it's a different environment, and you hear about places and you always wonder what it's like to be there. And obviously the opportunity to come out here and experience this and, hey, maybe see a brown bear. I mean, wow, that's, again, adventure. Right. I think that's that's the one word that sums it all up is the adventure. And you see these animals like you've been spending most of the time asking questions about how to judge them and, the blacktails and everything. And after, hunting Oregon blacktails, I mean, you want to see a different species. If you shot whitetails, you want to always shoot another deer, member of the deer family or whatever. And I had not shot any of these. And this is just a whole different process of hunting. So it's great.
I brought my bow and a rifle, and I'd like to take one with each, and then be great to see some foxes. We walk around all day today, Michael, and Tim's like, I think I see a fox. I think I see a fox every 5 minutes, because he feels like that will then, if we see a fox, then it's kind of his fox.
I called dibs.
Oh, you did?
Yeah, I just call dibs every time. There's fox. Eventually, it's going to be true.
That's not surprising, because I think Tim will pass up an elk because he sees a bobcat in the area or something like that. So he's got
been known to chase the predators. That's one of my favorite things.
Yeah. And your goal, Tim?
We've accomplished half of it already. The bush flight in is worth the price of admission. I'm not going to lie. It's the adventure thing, like Michael was talking about, right? So I grew up reading about these places and dreaming about going to them, and then you get here and honestly, you guys are stopping and looking at deer, and I'm just kind of going, whoa. And looking around, is it real? I'm actually here. I'm on Kodiak because I dream about these big bears.
Yeah, I got to admit, like Kodiak has a mystique. It has like a prestige kind of feel to it where I've always dreamt about it, and I thought about someday it would be cool to go there, but I probably never will.
Yeah,
you know, and then
now here we are.
Yeah,
right?
it's pretty.
The deer are beautiful. It's the whole thing, right? Yeah, I'd like to know how to judge the deer and all of that, but.
Yeah, so would I.
Yeah.
I like to know what they taste like.
What's funny is Cole sees a deer, and it's like, if it were me, there'd have been deer dead already.
Oh, I bet.
Like, without someone like Cole there to be like, you know what? You haven't told us not to shoot any. We can shoot whatever we want.
Yeah.
But it is nice to have someone who's been here before that can help you go, well, there's other deer out there that we could find over the next couple of days that are either, just older, more mature, bigger, and so it makes it easier to hold off. And I'm like, I'm okay with, we got 2 tags each, 2 deer tags each. But I'm okay with, going home with just 1 deer.
If it wasn't for Cole, you would have tagged out yesterday on the way from the plane down to camp.
Every deer looked big to me. Is that one big enough? That one looks pretty big, Cole.
That's a pretty common thing. Most people, they see a Sitka blacktail and they hear how small they are, and they just, that one's a good one, huh? And they see horns on it, and it's got a couple of different points on it, and they think it's good enough. And, you have to look at the year. Look what type of year it is, and know the types of bucks that are around, right? Mm-hmm. I mean, this isn't like the whitetail hunting where we know every deer out here, but like I know that there are good deer out here, but I also know we have to hunt pretty hard for them and look over a lot of deer. If you have a goal to find an old mature buck, well, you have to continue to look for that old mature buck. You just can't go out and look around a little bit and say, well, I guess there's none of them here, and just shoot these. Yeah, 2 small
it's not
bucks.
A corn-fed whitetail in a nut.
So you have to put on the miles. Sometimes you got the glass, and like today was frustrating for me because I kind of know what's around here in terms of I know there's a lot more deer that we haven't seen, but this wind has like kept them in the brush. Yeah. And so today the technique wasn't exactly the normal ideal technique of hunting blacktail that I like to do, but it's kind of like, well, I know they're in here, and as we're going along, bucks are standing up as we're coming through these little gullies and, the brush patches and stuff. But, they're pretty curious, so they stand up and you give us opportunity. It really hasn't been too many of them that we couldn't have got on fairly quick and shot.
Yeah, true. No. And there were a few running around today down here in these flats, and they were getting around. They were moving quite a bit this morning.
Yeah.
But I am surprised how many I saw limping and gimping around.
Yeah.
Like they all have like a wounded shoulder, leg, or they're just.
And it doesn't really hold them back.
They don't really care.
Going after them.
Yeah.
No,
we saw one today. It was that way. Yeah, it was hobbling, kind of moving, but his ears are perked up, and he was still looking all around.
Oh, he had his nose to the ground. He was looking for the ladies.
But it's interesting, right? Because in a lot of places, you don't get to see that many bucks.
Oh no!
All at once, and so what was interesting for me, we know that late ruts, animals that rut late in the year, like these deer do, that the winter is tough on them. But you look at this and you see how many of them are banged up from the rut, and it's a mild winter. And I'm not going to lie, we're up there in that wind. The temperature is not awful, but you can see where this gets harsh fast.
Yeah.
And so if you're already in that state. And then, you get a tough winter. I don't know how any of them make it.
But some of the deer we saw today, none of them look. I didn't see a skinny deer.
Yeah, no, they actually look. They look really
porky and
they look
fat.
Good. Yep. No, this is a great. I'm excited about this winter because you dump a foot of snow out here right now, And we have tons of boats that come down to Kodiak, and guys come on that, and it's a great way to hunt here. Fun experience, but it turns the worst deer hunter into like an amazing deer hunter because all the deer just come scrambling out to the beach, and down really low.
Yep.
And years like this, when you're trying to recover again, kind of keeps them a little more spread out, and doesn't bring them all out on it.
Doesn't concentrate them on the beach and the bay
correct.
where they get
Correct.
hunted. Huh?
Yeah, no, and it's pretty interesting because no one really ever asks, like when we go down to the hunting shows, no one asks, hey, how are the bears? How are the bears doing? It's always the Sitka black-tailed deer. No one asks how the mountain goats are doing. It's always the black-tailed deer because they know it's like a sensitive species.
Right.
And it's sensitive to the weather and the winter. And so it's always like everyone is curious. How are the deer? Are you okay?
Well, you're talking about an animal that
it's like Adam over here. Everyone's always wondering how he's doing.
I mean,
is he okay?
One of the reasons why Sitka blacktail probably didn't evolve on Kodiak Island is because they get on the island somehow or another. They die because of the winter.
Yeah,
it's just that far north. You're up here, man.
Yeah, I mean, they're great, amazing. It's a great, amazing habitat for them, no doubt about it. But when the winter kicks, I mean,
there's no escape.
Yeah,
right? I mean, obviously the habitat's really good for them, sure, most of the time. But you can only get so low when you're on an island.
Mm-hmm.
Can't get away from it.
We got one hunt. Tomorrow's our hump day.
I don't know
either.
Listen, when you hear the plane, you probably better shoot something. No, we don't need. We're gonna record a little bit each day,
we
don't need to shoot anything unless we see a mongo,
and kind of just talk about the experience each day. And today, there's not a lot to talk about, but tomorrow, there's probably going to be.
Yep. Today we're just soaking it up.
Yeah.
Cole said that he was gonna take some of the deer scraps and do the Hansel and Gretel thing, so we can get some foxes.
Sure, what that
and bears
and leave little breadcrumbs right up to the edge of our tent.
Yeah, that'll be
only
great.
the foxes go after meat around here. So
I would believe that's
okay.
considered baiting, and that's not what we do.
I was making that up, Cole. I'm sorry, I don't want to get you in trouble.
Way to butcher my favorite story. One of my favorite bedtime stories.
Hansel and Gretel. That's a dark one.
One of your favorite bedtime stories.
Well, it's pretty amazing. I'm really excited to
Well, I'm excited to show you guys what it's like when the wind kind of settles
dies
down.
down.
And
yeah, it'd be interesting to see.
and
they seem pretty harsh, like weather-wise, And last night it pretty much rained and snowed all night. I think it quit around 5 a.m., maybe 6. But it seemed to be going all night.
Yeah, we didn't get much sleep in here. Trying to keep the old stovepipe down.
You got the Kifaru stove?
Yeah, I believe it's Kifaru.
Yeah. It keeps this place roasty toasty.
Mm-hmm.
So you had that sewn in yourself?
No, so actually what happened was this stove, or this tent came with a stove jack, but it came with too big of one, and so I had to order a new stove jack. If you look, there's 2 gaskets in there. Maybe a 5 and a 4 inch.
Yeah.
And so I had to put the smaller one in because I had this, called up Kifaru and got this stove, but the Cabela's stove jack had a bigger one.
It's pretty legit.
Yeah. But I do have a tent that I had it sewn in, though, for sure. Had a lady in town sew it in. Yeah, it's pretty nice for this time of year, and if guys get wet, but mainly it's just nice to have a heat source, and this is a nice drier heat rather than running more propane and whatnot.
Yep. Well, cool. Well, let's wrap this up. We'll do a little more hunting tomorrow and report back. Be good.
Right on. Excited.
Go big or go home, Cole.
Yes, sir.
Don Cole. I don't even know what that means. It's some kind of inside joke that I'm not part of.
Yeah. You got to meet the guy who named me that, and then you'll understand.
Somebody that's listening, let me know the inside joke. Fill me in. All right. Thanks for listening. Stay gritty.
Despite our ever-changing, ever-indignant world with its growing ignorance of and indifference to the ways of the wild, I remain a predator, pitying those who revel in artificiality and synthetic success while regarding me and my kind as relics of a time and place no longer valued or understood. I stalk a real world of dark wood and tall grass stirred by a restless wind blowing across sunlit water and beneath star-strewn sky. And on those occasions when I choose to kill, to claim some small part of nature's bounty for my own, I do so by choice, quickly, with the learned efficiency of a skilled hunter. Further, in my heart and mind, I know the truth and make no apologies for my actions or my place and time. Others around me may opt to eat only plants, nuts, and fruits. Still others may employ faceless strangers to procure their meats, their leather, their feathers, and all those niceties and necessities of life. Such is their right, of course, and I wish them well. All I ask in return is no one begrudge me, and all of us who may answer the primordial stirrings within our hunter souls, my right to do some of these things myself.
What you just heard is a quote from M.R. James. We truly live in a world that is largely ignorant and indifferent to the ways of the wild. And although some regard us as relics of a time and place no longer valued or understood, we have the opportunity to change the way these people view the hunter and the hunt. We can share our experiences and nature's bounty with those who employ these faceless strangers. And by so doing, we make a difference, not just for ourselves, but for the wild animals in the wild places we care so deeply about. Never stop sharing your passion for hunting and the outdoors. Our wild animals and our wild places depend on it.
This is Ty Stubblefield, and you're listening to The Gritty Bowman.
Gritty Bowman.